Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, 2021 Consumer Pest Control Purchasing Revelations, which is sponsored by Field Routes. I'm PCT Senior Editor Jackie Mitchell, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. Thanks for taking some time out of your schedule to attend with us. Today, we're going to be hearing from two speakers who will provide insights into consumer purchasing trends, Keith Bunch and Ryan Drury. Here's a little bit about each of them. For over a decade, Keith Bunch has helped turn business strategies and customer needs into market-driven software solutions that drive success. His proven track record in software product development and project management has helped companies make data-driven decisions that meet company goals and achieve a competitive advantage. As a project manager at Field Routes, he works with internal departments and customers to identify new opportunities to improve their cloud-based field service solutions and ensure excellent end user experiences. As the sales manager for the Field Routes Sales and Marketing Suite, Ryan Drury is passionate about helping field service businesses understand the benefits of using effective online marketing tactics to help them reach their full sales growth potential. He started his sales career 10 years ago as a business development intern, and he graduated from Arizona State University in 2018 with his Bachelor of Arts in Business and Sustainability. In his spare time, he enjoys volunteering as a youth leader and at fundraising events. I have two quick notes to pass along before we get started. First, a quick disclaimer. The views expressed in presentations made during this virtual event are those of the speakers and not necessarily of the PCT Media Group or GIE Media. Presentations during the virtual event or the participation of vendors during the virtual event does not constitute an endorsement of the vendor or speaker's views, products, or services. Second, our webinar is interactive and we encourage everyone to ask their questions throughout. You can do this by typing them into the Q&A interface, which you'll see at the bottom of your screen. We'll hold these questions until the end. And just a reminder that our webinar is an hour long. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Keith and Ryan.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Thanks for the intros. So at Field Routes, everything we do is with a purpose. That purpose is to understand our customers' challenges and help our customers grow their business. Part of our core values is to build strong solutions to get you time back in your life. Alongside our operational software, routing, and business automations, we want to also understand the buying preferences and behaviors of consumers to maximize our customers' ability to grow and win more business. Earlier this year, Field Routes partnered with the respected market research firm Lucid to collect data that would help us understand how and why consumers purchase home services. We ran a nationwide survey balanced to the US Census to over 2,000 men and women ages 18 to 64 who rent or own their primary residence and are involved in household service purchase decisions. These consumers had purchased a pest control service in the past 12 months, and our key objective was to explore and understand the consumer decision journey for pest control services to help support our customers' business growth and optimize our e-commerce product, Buy Online, to give consumers what they want and convert them at a higher rate. Throughout this presentation, we'll explore a few key areas that we dug into, including the home service market size across the US, including where pest control falls, a consumer's propensity and satisfaction with reoccurring plans versus one-time services, and their loyalty, including what prompts them to switch companies. We will also go through the pest control consumer journey and go over who likes to purchase online versus over the phone, and what the consumer looks for when trying to make a purchase decision. We'll then wrap up with some key takeaways and then follow that up with some Q&A. So enough of me talking, let's get to the data. So first, let's dive into the home service market size across the US and where pest control falls among other popular home services. In the past year, consumers shopped around for a variety of household services, most notably over half searched for landscaping and pest control as seen in this graph here. So we can see that landscaping and lawn maintenance was 59%, pest control 58%, and then we have some other cascading down home services. So between lawn and pest control of past 12-month purchasers among the overall market, we see a pretty high adoption rate there. Looking at reported purchase behavior, landscaping and pest control are the most purchased household services over the past year, with approximately 3 in 10 homeowners or renters purchasing each. So while we say their consumers are out there looking for these solutions, we actually have around 31% actually buying for landscaping and lawn and 28% buying for pest control. 25% for some interior and exterior painting, and then it just kind of cascades down from there. So at any given time, 43% of the homeowner and renter market can be identified as a potential pest control customer, as they have either purchased over a year ago or are planning future purchases. We have around 28% that have purchased in the past 12 months, but if we look at folks who have purchased over a year ago or are planning to purchase, that's around 43%. And if we do some quick math, there's roughly 140 million homes or housing units in the US, and 43% of that is a little over 60 million homes or housing units that can be identified as a potential customer. So the market is quite large when we look at the research here. Consumers are also very likely to consider booking all types of household services on a company websites. For pest control, consumers have a slight preference over website booking versus over the phone. However, both are strongly preferred over in-person sales reps or via email. So what we attempted to do here is we're looking for how a consumer would want to book a service. We still have this broken out by a couple of different home services, but mainly looking at pest control here in our blue column. We can see 57% would prefer to book on a company website, 52% are over the phone, and then via email is 38%, and then in person with the door-to-door sales rep is 36%. So what we can see here is even pest control in general and in all home services, there is a high willingness for consumers to book online on the website as well as over the phone. And even though door-to-door has traditionally been very dominant in our pest control industry, we are starting to see trending down as far as consumers' preference as an avenue. Now, if we kind of magnify pest control and we look at the website purchase consideration among the overall market, we're going to see that 57% is right here in the extremely likely or very likely to consider purchasing. And most notably here, that we're going to see the not very likely and not likely at all to be in the single-digit percentages. So what that tells us is that there is a market for consumers. They're wanting to purchase online as well over the phone. And over the last few years, that not very likely or not likely at all to purchase on a website has drastically come down.
Keith, we talked about it the other day, but I think it's really interesting to bring up here with regards to on the website, over the phone, via email. All of these components are touching, some level of technology. But when we look at the actual search history of our clients and then just the industry overall, 80-20, right? So 80% of that traffic is coming from a mobile device. So it's really important that not only offering these services like a buy online component, but it has to look good on a mobile device. And just bottom line across the board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, making sure that your website is actually mobily responsive. Anything that you do digitally is mobile responsive is going to be huge, especially moving into the future. Just like you mentioned, mobile has finally taken over desktop. If you look at any of the stats from Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari. So having that in mind also with your digital presence is huge. All right, so now that we know the size of the market, let's take a dive into the consumer's propensity and satisfaction with reoccurring plans versus one-time service plans, and what their loyalty, including what prompts them to switch companies, are. So among past 12-month purchasers, 6 in 10 have some type of reoccurring plan that they're satisfied with, particularly those residing in urban areas. So we asked in the consumer research, are you on a recurring plan? 63% of those respondents were on a recurring plan. Some were on a one-time service, and then some were just not on a recurring plan. Now, when we look at what the overall plan satisfaction of reoccurring services is, we broke it down by urban residents, rural residents, and suburban residents. We see very high marks of overall plan satisfaction. So this is good news for anybody that really wants to get into the reoccurring stuff. I think, the reoccurring customer is definitely more lifetime value to you than a one-time customer that comes through the door. And generally the big goal is to get out to the house, get into a reoccurring service type, and then also try to upsell into other areas if you can as well. But we see high plan satisfaction. We still see that there are some times, and we see a high percentage of consumers who are willing to switch. So many reoccurring plan members are likely to switch motivated by price rather than customer service or coverage concerns. Almost half of those looking to switch are willing to try something new, suggesting low levels of company loyalty in the category. So this is pretty interesting. So even though they're very satisfied with their reoccurring model of a plan, they generally have some high level of likelihood to switch. So among the past 12-month purchasers with the recurring plan, 46% of those told us that they were very or somewhat likely to switch. Now, when we drilled into that a little bit more to those respondents, we asked them, what are the reasons, for switching? And the number one was to find a better deal at 62%. Mm-hmm. This is overly dominant by the 45 to 54-year-olds, around 67%, those residing in the West, and those with annual incomes of $50,000 up to $100,000. These are the most price-sensitive consumers. Yeah. Secondly, some want to try something new, 48%. This is going to be our younger generation. Those residing in urban centers and those with over $100,000 incomes are the most open to new options. Then we have, not too far behind is to find better customer service, then to find better coverage in my area. And then their current company is no longer in business, so they'll be looking for something else. And I believe, Ryan, we actually have a poll question here on this slide too. It's how confident are you that most of your customer base will retain your services?
It's a tough question to answer. And some additional insight, right? When we talked about this last time, Keith, was between those two type of customer, right? Those who are looking to be price sensitive, looking for new options, what's going to keep a consumer around? What differentiates, me from my competitors? Without the technology being the apples to apples conversation, if we're all on the same level, convenience is there across the board. It's your brand identity, your story. So, everybody here on this call, just take a second to recognize, what does our brand stand for? That's something that we definitely want to, showcase when we look to our prospects and our current clients, is helping them put their best foot forward.
Yeah, it looks like we got some results here too. So looks like confidence is 57%, somewhat confident 26%. So that's great. That means we're doing a good job with customer service. We're keeping engaged conversations, and we're feeling confident. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next slide. So we see the size of the market, the consumers' propensity for reoccurring plans, and what motivates them to switch companies. Mm-hmm. Let's now take a deep dive into why consumers actually are purchasing pest control.
Okay.
So pest control sees only slightly higher levels of reactive compared to proactive purchases. Approximately 4 in 10 were first-time purchasers over the past 12 months as well. Now, I don't know about you, Ryan, but this was very shocking to me. I had the assumption that almost all purchasers of consumers were very reactive, and I've got a major problem. I'm working from home and I've seen roaches or ants or bugs, and I do a quick Google search and find somebody to come help me. But what we found is, while that is over a little bit of the majority, we still have an entire customer target segment out there that are proactive purchasers, and they're looking for routine inspections and new home inspections. So I think it's important to note here is, while the bread and butter is I have an immediate pest control need, right, we still have a target market out there that we need to be aware of and go after with some of our routine inspection work and new home inspection work as well.
And Keith, that client's the one you want to have. They're going to be a $50 a month client. They're going to want to stay on board. They're subscription based, right? They got Netflix, they got Amazon, they have Costco. And to them, they just want to have the company that's going to provide the best service for them. And that tells the best story online. It just aligns with, what they want. So
yeah, absolutely. We're looking at first time home buyers here, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're getting a routine. Right. They're getting a routine inspection, and that lifetime value of that customer, if you can get them on their first home purchase, is going to be much greater than the one-time service, or I have a giant problem. Can you please just come fix this for me? And I don't really want to have a relationship with you.
Right. And we talked 4 out of 10 first-time purchasers. These can be people, maybe they're not even actually buying their first home, but they're moving out of those congested cities like in the West Coast, going middle of the country, or, in New York City, moving out. But they do get homes versus having an apartment. And again, it's that subscription-based model. So they have to take care of everything. The landlord's not doing it. But yeah, 4 out of 10 to me is still so surprising over the last 12 months. But I think has a direct correlation with COVID and that great resignation that we're seeing across the nation. So very interesting.
Yep, absolutely. So next, let's look at what the most common types of pest control. So making up over half the share of the services purchases are general pest extermination, ant extermination, and rodent control. I think probably no major surprises here, but the good news is over 55% of those first 3 are mainly reoccurring services. Mosquito treatment is still very high. Termite extermination super high, where it might be a little bit more geographical, and bed bug is, tends to be one of those one-time services or commercial services. So I think the good news here is that, again, lots of consumers are willing to get into this reoccurring service model, and whether they had a rodent problem or a mosquito problem or termites, they're generally open to a general pest extermination type of reoccurring service. So let's take a look at when a pest control solution is needed. What's the first step for many? It's an online search, and it's driven by younger customers. But regardless of age, the first steps are often more digital. So let's just kind of take this slide and break it into 2 and look at the left hand here. So the first action taken among consumers who have purchased pest control in the last 12 months is digital, right? Yeah. They're searching online for a company to fix it. Or they're searching online for a DIY solution, or they're going to social media.
And these could be the same client, right? The same customer they could be looking DIY, then they come to find out they don't know what's best, right? And
absolutely. Yeah. And we see 23% total are more local in person. So this is talking to neighbors and friends, or that door-to-door sale. Yeah. And then we have the print section, right? Direct mail. 5% here. So that's, direct to mail. Somebody dropped a business card in your mailbox or your door, or you got something, a coupon or something. And then we have some outliers here, just research a company that they saw advertising for. So whether that's TV or radio, right. And then reach out to a company they used before. So if we kind of break this down demographically and we look at ages 18 to 34, we have a significantly higher subgroup on the digital side, 49%, and 27% of those in that age group are going online to find a company to fix it. The local in-person kind of stays pretty standard here. The print is pretty standard against the entire demographic. And then also the research company on advertising and reached out to a company used before. The reached out but used before is kind of low, obviously, because these are going to be more of your first time buyers.
Right.
But what's interesting,
4 out of 10, right? 4 out of 10 are first time buyers.
Exactly. But very interesting to me, people talk all the time, like it's the younger age group, it's the millennials, it's the new home age, but when we look at ages 35 to 64, digital is still huge. We're 42%. Now they might be, looking at different ways. They might be looking at for some DIY stuff, or they might just be more prone to picking up the phone once they're on the website, but they're still going to a digital channel to try to find the solution that solves their need. Again, look at this local in-person stuff, about the same from 18 to 34 to 35 to 36, right? Same thing with the print. But what's kind of an outlier here is that these age group right here have probably used a company before, so they have a little bit more brand loyalty. They've got a little bit of, hey, I've used this company before, let me go ahead and reach out and call them, which is pretty much to be expected for somebody in that demographic.
The lion's share of activity is just digital, right? Going through and doing a quick search. And we talked about it again, right? 80% of the people who are making those digital searches are doing it on their phone or tablet. I mean, tablet is anywhere between 5 to 10%. So,
right. So as consumers seek more information throughout the process, online searches and reviews, most notably through Google, along with recommendations from family and friends, are the most used and most helpful pest control information sources. So again, among the past 12-month purchasers, we asked them, what information sources do you use and what do you trust? So the top three: general internet search, Google, Bing, whatnot, 49%, that's what they're using. 23% of those people feel like that's the most trusted that they can go by. Friends and family, 39%. And then online review sites like Yelp and Better Business Bureau, 35%. We see social media has some high marks here, some over the phone sales, some more online articles, referrals from other contractors or realtors that you use can be beneficial as well. Ads received in the mail, and then in-person and door-to-door sales. So, while door-to-door still has its place, and I don't ever want to say that it doesn't, the data is showing us that consumers are more and more willing to do business on their terms versus being hit up on their front doorstep. And when we look at the top online review sites too, among those that use that source, this stands out. I mean, I think I had a pretty big assumption that Google is going to be king, but 77% is quite substantial. And Yelp coming up at 44%, Facebook 38%. And then, even though we have places like Home Advisor and, Angie's List, which is Angie now, who really hone in on that home service market, Google is still predominantly dominating. Why? Because Chrome has a browser share of about 80% of the entire market. Everybody's going to Google to do their searches. You see the GMB listings, you see the reviews right there. You see that for other things besides home pest control that you're searching for. Anything that you search for on Google, you're seeing the reviews. So Google has this baked in trust with every consumer, not only with home services, but across the entire online e-commerce spectrum.
Right. And even just looking at the information sources used, right, breaking down those two columns, they use that source. And then they also indicated that it was most helpful. And we have to consider that, that prospect's looking multiple places. Like they're talking to pops, they're talking to their neighbor, and they're saying, hey, who did you use, right? What recommendations do you have? And then they're going to go validate that. They're not just taking everything at face value. I think it's really important to recognize that even if you do door knock, or even if you do just do a Google search or you're just talking to your family members, that more often than not, the consumer has all the power to go do research. And they're walking in a scenario with more information than ever before. So more information is better. And why are we able to win and lose again? It just goes back to your brand, telling your right story online. And I think that's really important to talk about too.
Absolutely. I think we have another poll question here too. Do you routinely manage and monitor your review sites such as Google and Facebook? Yes and no. I'm expecting a majority of yes here, but we'll see what we get.
All right. And maybe even a follow-up, maybe you guys could pop in the Q&A, but how often do you guys see business coming from Facebook versus Google or vice versa? No pressure on anybody in particular, but that's just interesting to me as well. So I know a lot of us may not have our own website, but we definitely have a Facebook page.
There we go, 75% yes.
Wow.
That's great.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so consumers are looking for a reputable company with a reasonable price point above all else. Not surprisingly, homeowners place a higher level of importance on this reputation and look for it to be proven with reviews and recommendations from those with relatable experiences. So when we look at the type of information searched for among those who told us they do go out there and try to do research and gather information, they're looking for a reputable company and they're looking for a price point within their budget overwhelmingly. Reviews are a close third. And then that immediate extermination service is quite less than what I would expect right there. So again, this kind of speaks to that proactive versus reactive. We're starting to see a lot more proactive consumers going out there, doing the research, trying to get educated about making a purchase decision. And if you don't have the digital channels available for that on your website, even including, if you don't get a ton of deals that buy online, but a consumer is able to see your pricing and packaging, see what you do. That's just more touch points to that research that they can do that makes them more comfortable with your company and able to, even pick up that phone or to book online.
Interesting.
And then we did a split on owners and renters. I think that we realized that owners definitely have a higher, rating, but it's interesting to see that obviously owners have way more interest in a reputable company. It's their property, right? This is like a pest control, and somebody coming to your home or any home service is a very relationship, trustworthy experience, right? And so we show that here in the data. 50% of owners want a reputable company, 38% renters, maybe they don't care so much. They just need something to be fixed. And then the price point, interestingly enough, I thought that this would be higher on the renter side, but again, pretty competitive. And then reviews, again, owners are far outweighing there. And then recommendations from people like me. So other homeowners that have had an experience with that same vendor as well is definitely huge. So when it comes time to book a pest control service, the primary booking is still over the phone. Despite a high level of information gathering conducted digitally, only a third of those who gathered information completed the purchase using digital channels. So we see a willingness from our consumers that they want to book online, and we know that they're going digitally to do all the searching. But what's happening is they're doing all their searching. They see that phone number on the website. They've got enough information. They collect it. I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to give them a call. So we have 51% in that category, but we still have 30% that are booking on company websites. 10% are still getting sold by a door-to-door person. So maybe they've done some digital research ahead of that and somebody knocked on their door and it was right time, right place. So they went ahead and booked with them. And then we have some very, very low on email and others. But what's super interesting about this one is only 3% of the past 12-month purchasers indicated they did not gather any information prior to selecting a pest control service. So again, just having a digital presence with your services and reviews and your reputation and customer referrals. I mean, we're talking 97% of all consumers who are going to buy from you are going digitally to try to do research on your company. And the 3% that aren't, they're calling a company that they already know about, or they're booking online from a company they already know about, or a door-to-door salesman did a really good job and got into a territory and was a good salesman and got them booked up. So before we kind of discuss a little bit more about this, I think we have one last poll question here. And it's currently, what is the most popular way your customers contact you to buy your services? Phone, website, in-person, email, or other. And Ryan, I think this would be a good time for you to even talk about making sure that you even have something set up on your website, like a tracking number, so you can actually see who's calling from the website versus maybe your Google My Business listing or a print advertisement.
Yeah, I think it's, to your point, Keith, I think it's super valuable to recognize data. It's the new oil, it's the new main resource. And knowing those things allows you to make educated decisions. And something that we found with a lot of our members, across the board, I don't know if they use the tool enough to say, cool, like we only have 35% close rate on phone calls. I think, adopting the use of data into their everyday decision-making, could it help everybody across the board be more strategic with the accounts they have coming through? I think a lot of time you hear people say, hey, I want leads. But more often than not, what they could be focusing on is strategic accounts, strategic leads, closing what they got, and making sure that they're having a lower cost per acquisition. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So see, phone 79%, and I would be super interested to know how many of those phone calls are coming from your website, the phone number on your website, versus other sources or mediums.
Like Google My Business.
Right. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think no doubt phone is still king, but there are definitely digital channels to get that phone number in front of people. And I think we're going to kind of go over this in the next slide, but we're seeing that consumer willingness to want to book online, and they're still calling because we have a gap in the market.
And Keith, also to highlight, the email section, I wonder if that's for upselling, right? Or lost lead chain. So bringing people back, you have them in your database, bringing them back around the horn.
Absolutely. So consumers do indicate high levels of willingness to finalize the purchase online and over the phone, indicating that there is a gap to be filled between the pest control purchase method desired and the options available in the market. So when we look at this, we're looking at future booking method considerations. So we went to consumers who have purchased pest control over the past 12 months, and we said, if you had to, book services again, how likely are you to consider booking any future services in the following way? So again, we still see phone very, very strong, 69%, under the extremely very likely. Look at company website. If it was available, 60% are extremely and very likely to book, whereas only 12% are saying not likely, very likely at all. Compare that to in-person with the door-to-door sales and look at that not likely, not very likely at all to jump up right there, 42% on that. So we have high willingness for consumers to book online. We just don't have, there's not a ton of people doing it right now, to be frank.
Yeah. I love that slide. I love this.
And so when we really look at the highest likelihood levels for company website booking among demographics, these are the people that you should be after. Those residing in the West, 71% tell us they want to book online. Those with $100,000 or more incomes, great customers, right? 71%. Those residing in urban centers,
yes.
Those aged at 35 to 44, yep. Great customers, much higher long-term value for that customer or lifetime value of that customer. Yeah. And this is an interesting one. Those who work entirely from home or have a flexible work arrangement, right?
Like us.
Right. We're seeing it with COVID and the work from home thing rising. People are spending more times in their homes. They're seeing that they have problems. But again, as a consumer, they want to book services on their own agenda. They don't want to call. I mean, they will call, but if they have the ability to do it on their own time and whenever they have free time and the convenience, I mean, 60%, that's pretty high. That's almost as high as over the phone.
Well, again, a lot of them, this is why I want to, challenge everybody on is, even those who are using buy online solutions today, how ingrained is that into the methodology of your company's culture, right? When you have like a voicemail, say, hey, this is Keith's Pest Control. Sorry, we missed you. Try to check out our buy online function online. Having it at every step along the way could help influence decision making. I think also all of these statistics residing in the West, take that one away, they're all basically exactly the same. 70%. This is that ICP that I think all of the participants of this webinar can agree with. Those are the clients that we're looking for. And so, apples to apples, you offering that solution, the ability to buy online, the convenience, having a reputable agency, running your marketing, et cetera. That's going to separate you from your competition. And then again, everything else, brand story, and that's going to make a difference as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just the ability alone, like we talked about, whether it's a mass amount or only 10% that book online through your website, it brings you so much more visibility into that research part, that consumers going out there and they're looking for stuff. So it's going to generate more phone calls in itself. Yeah. And for the customers who want to book online, how amazing is that they can kind of pick and choose what's available for them on the schedule, when they need a technician to come out and actually relay to the actual pest control company what their problems are, right? I mean, that's the big thing that we find is consumers also want to know, whatever they're buying is going to solve their problem. So a lot of that can be done digitally. So we did take a look at what the top barriers among those unlikely to book online are. And they're interpersonal with preferences toward conversation and doing more in-person shopping. Consumers also claim that websites can be unreliable and complex due to the lack of information, trust, and ease of the process. So pretty important here to point out. So 12% of our consumer research that we went out, they told us they were unlikely to book via company website. We wanted to drill into that a little bit more and see why. Okay. So we have interpersonal preferences, digital concerns and complications, purchase concerns and predictability. So 43% prefer to have a conversation. This is mainly driven by 55 to 64-year-olds and those with over 100,000 incomes. So things that you can do to combat this that we've seen work really well is providing an online chat on your website or in your booking tool, right? Also the ability to add some type of videos or comparison matrix on your deals that you're trying to sell online. Things that you can anticipate, having FAQs on your website, commonly asked questions, just getting more things, conversations around
too, right?
Correct, yeah. And so that's a really big one. And then I prefer my purchasing done in person. These are some of those tougher to convert customers.
Yeah.
These are going to be like your last adopters, but I guarantee you they either have an iPhone or they're about to get an iPhone.
Right. And
So
again, that's only 12%, right?
right, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, so these percentages are just broken out of inside of this 12% here. And then I need more information. I can't get usually online. That's going to be working again, SMS texting, chat bots, FAQs, trying to get videos up about, even a tech and how they apply the products or how they attack certain pests. Those can help with that. And I didn't want to create a required account. I think this is a big one,
That's
right?
me.
Right. So there's things that you can do to, strategize around this whenever you do bring an e-commerce solution to your website. There's often unexpected charges when buying online. This is a big one for me. I think transparency is huge, right? Yeah. They need to know what they're being charged, when they're going to be charged, and how that's set up. Don't trust online purchasing in general. It takes too long to input my information. This is really driven by first-time purchasers and those 18 to 34-year-olds and living in urban centers. So, things that we even do here at Field Routes to identify or to address this stuff is, we're constantly tracking step-by-step that flow, right? When a consumer starts the buying process, how many steps does it take them to actually finish it? Where are they dropping off? Where are they getting stuck? If you constantly just pay attention to your customers and you look at that data, you'll get some great insights in how you can make this a much more easier way for them to input their information. This goes right along with the checkout process was too long and complicated. And then I'm not able to use my preferred payment method online. So these are more driven by the younger generation. We're talking things with payment methods, more like Apple Pay, Google Pay versus credit cards and so forth. But again, highlight it, 12% this is just a breakdown of that 12% that tell us they're not likely. So most consumers are likely to book online. So comfort in booking online can be increased through ensuring security of payment and or refunds and with good reviews on the company website, on third-party websites, and from local users. So we touched on this a little bit just a minute ago, but again, a refund policy or money back guarantee, 27% of those who told us that they're not very likely to book online, that would make them more comfortable. A guarantee of secure payment, 25%, that would make them more comfortable. Good customer reviews, 23%. Customer reviews from local people, that's pretty high. A user-friendly website, I think this gets lost in translation a lot. Ease of use is huge. Google even uses that in some of their ranking factors for SEO. Good reviews from a third-party website, 21%. We were really interested in this one too, because we got to remember we're talking about consumers who say they would not likely book online and what's going to increase their comfort of booking online. So the consumers who answered this, we actually asked them, well, which third-party review site would make you more comfortable? And again, we still see Google here at 33%, Facebook and the BBB at 18%, and Yelp. My hunch here is Facebook reviews, you're excuse me, you're more likely to be friends with your neighbors or people in your neighborhood, and you might see some of their reviews as well. But again, Google here is shown to be dominating the market here. Anything you want to add to this one, Ryan?
Something that was interesting for me is I don't know how often people make decisions just with Facebook or just with the Better Business Bureau, but I think it's a second validation from the Google review. So for me, I think from what I've heard from our clients and then just my own search habits, right? Like I go and I look at Google, that's the Bible for me. But then I know some people that, again, Yelp is the Bible for them. They have it on their phone. That's their go-to app, their most used app for everything. So I think you just got to identify, what type of client you're looking to go after, portion of the pie you're looking to align with. But again, always, I think this goes back to a question earlier from Andrew was, how do consumers define, reputability, and would they be able to find it before purchasing? I think probably that the Facebook review, like, which is social proofing, and then how do they rank in BBB? That could be some of those, reputation value points, unless you have some other insight there.
No, I think that's great. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, we saw earlier slide that people are using Google way outpacing 77%. But I think it's very telling. Again, this slide is going over people who say they wouldn't book online, but what would make them want to. And Google reviews still hold higher. And again, it goes back to everything they're doing. They're searching on Google. It's not only just pest control. They're looking for all types of services, and it's just ingrained that those Google reviews are very trustworthy.
Mm-hmm. And while we're still on this, Nicholas Vaughn had a question too. Is it possible for the folks that are actually in this webinar to get a copy of the deck?
Yeah, I think that this will be up on the website, on the fieldroutes.com website, shortly after the webinar. And so we'll have some pieces up around this deck as well there.
Yeah, awesome. And Nicholas, I'll make sure you get a link to that too. And anybody else too, feel free to reach out to us in the chat box.
All right, so that was a lot of information, but let's quickly go over some of what we feel are the key takeaways from the entire research in general. So again, 3 in 10 homeowners or renters purchase pest control services in the past 12 months. Many have some type of reoccurring plan that they're very satisfied with. However, could be motivated to switch for a better price or to try something new, which indicates low levels of company loyalty in the category. At any given time, 43% of the homeowner and renter market can be identified as potential future customers, as they've either purchased over a year ago or are planning a future purchase. Pest control has a slightly higher level of reactive purchasers compared to proactive purchasers, with the top trigger for initial inquiry being an active pest infestation. They share the same type of service purchases as dominated by general pest extermination, ant extermination, and rodent control. When a solution is needed, the first step taken for many, particularly those aged 18 to 34, is a digital search. So as consumers seek information, online search and reviews, most notably through Google, along with recommendations from family and friends, are the most used and most helpful sources. From these sources, consumers are looking to find a reputable company at a reasonable price point above all else. The primary method for booking a pest control service is still over the phone. When asked about future booking methods, consumers indicate high levels of willingness to book online as over the phone, indicating there is a gap to be filled between the pest control purchase method desired and the options available in the market. And this is just, again, Ryan, this is us, everybody's going out there and looking digitally, and there's just not a ton of e-commerce and buying solutions out there, even though consumers want it, so they're just forced to call.
And I think also we talk about this has been adopted on our ends. We wanted to do this 3 years ago. We started a line for the buy online. It's new, right? It's something that is coming through. It works for those who adopt it all the way through, right? In every DNA structure of their company, everyone talks about the buy online, and those are the ones that are succeeding the most at it. So I talk about this often with my team. It's like having a power tool, right? It's great and you have in the bag, but if you don't know how to use it and you don't, you're still using hammer and nail because it gets the job done. So
absolutely,
if you want to look at this, big takeaway from decision making the consumer's going to do, just align with what you're doing personally with everything, right? I hate it, but I do use Grubhub or DoorDash or even Uber Eats. I use it all the time, and it's just convenient. I could go and save $20 and go pick it up, but I don't because convenience. I'm still gonna get the same quality of service. I still know that. It just makes it really easy for me to make a decision there.
Yeah. And, among those unlikely to book online, that 12% that told us that, we see that there's kind of the same stuff. The top barriers are interpersonal. These customers have a preference toward having conversations. And customers also claim that websites can be unreliable and online process complex. So eliminating any of that discomfort, providing good reviews from Google and from local users, giving reassurance of security of payment and refunds, those can be huge differentiators to help you convert those consumers online. So beyond cost, the most influential decision-making factor is that sense of reliability and trust. This can be built through consistent availability, positive reviews, and by providing a good customer service experience. Those who rely on online reviews are looking for increased confidence in the company through testimonials from others in the area who face similar issues. And those who rely on customer service need to be assured that their problems are fully understood and are solved in a friendly and efficient manner. Younger customers prefer online chat customer service, while older consumers prefer to be helped over the phone.
And I think the interesting point there too is I thought it was going to be, and I'm sure a lot of us on this call thought too, it was just going to be younger consumers who want to buy online. But I mean, heck, my grandma sends me stuff on Amazon, right? She uses that tool fully and she's 80 years old. So I think across the board, I hate to say this is the new normal. It's a COVID thing. It's silly, but it's true, right? COVID's made it very clear that there's a lot of solutions that have replaced that in-person conversation. And I think for pest control and other home services not to take advantage of that, you're going to be behind the times, unfortunately. So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's convenience to a consumer, right? It's doing business on their terms. The reoccurring service model has been proven out by many industries. From tech to mortgages to even trash and water. So it's only natural for it to come to the home services industry as well. And so, and some of those other, trust and reliability that can be built through other means too. I think there's probably, a million ways to crush a bug, but you can do things like sending the same tech out to the same house every time to create that trust and reliability. You can be really communicative with your customers and let them know, hey, we're on our way to your house. We'll be there in an hour. Sending follow-up surveys, making sure that all your problems and needs were addressed, and really just getting out there in front and being very communicative, via SMS text message with your consumers. I mean, that's part of building that reliability and trust. And, that's a big influential decision-making factor for a consumer when they're comparing two vendors, right? Yeah. I mean, if I can book online and I can text and I can pay my bill via text and, I can send photos into my problems and they send the same person out to my house that I trust and I know is going to solve my problem. I can trust them with my property. Those are the type of things that you can do, not only from a digital perspective, but really just from an operational perspective as well.
I think, Keith, it would be silly for everyone on this call to say they wouldn't want to not do that, but it might be hard to scale it.
Sure.
Yeah. And so it's a great opportunity for us over here at Field Routes to talk to them and talk to you guys about solutions. Execution's huge, right? We all have these great ideas, but yes, it'd be amazing to be able to send my customers like a $5 Starbucks gift card, thanking them that they've been on board for a 3-year term or whatever it is, like just rewarding people and delighting them in small ways. But it's probably hard. It's probably hard to manage this and everything else. So if you guys do have questions and you guys want to talk offline and sit down with us and just kind of go over your unique scenario, again, everybody's different. You're all at different points in the process with regards to what you're trying to do with your clients. But yeah, just reach out to us, guys. We're here.
Yep. So I hope you've all found this information to be useful to you as you begin to plan for the 2022 busy season, and you're able to maybe leverage some of it to identify a new target audience or beef up your digital presence. Now let's get to the most important part, the questions.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Keith and Ryan, for your presentation. We have several questions here, and just a reminder, if you do have any for anyone in the audience, you can type those in the Q&A box. So the first one we have, does the company website differentiate between the company versus aggregators?
Do you want to take that one, Ryan?
I actually wanted to see with the data I think it was going to the data that you pulled up, was the data that you had for company website, was that differentiating between company and aggregators? I know the answer on our end, but I just want to see if the data that you pulled, I think that's what, and Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong there, if that was you were looking at.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you mean by aggregators?
Oh, here he goes. Home Advisor. Oh, easy. Yeah. So when people are doing searches, is it going through Angie, Home Advisor?
Yes. Yeah. So no, those are basically going through search engines. So your Google, your Bing, your Safari, those are where those stats are coming from for the company website. Okay,
thank you. This next one is more of a comment, but you might have some feedback on it as well. So it says, it would be interesting to see how these consumers define reputable and how they find out that it is reputable before purchasing.
Yeah, absolutely. So reputable to most consumers is they want to see that you've been in business, that you've solved a similar problem that they've had, and they want to see a third-party review from a customer that's just like them. You can put testimonials on your website, and those are great, but what they're really looking for is an impartial third-party customer who's used you before, might have had some of around the same problem as them, might be in the same neighborhood or the same area as they are, and can trust that you're going to be able to solve their problem. You have anything on that, Ryan?
I think we also talked about it during the middle of the thing, but I just want to maybe ask some of you guys, how do you guys define being reputable? What have you, I would not want to put my foot in my mouth here, but what do you guys feel like you spend a lot of your time and energy to make sure that you have the right reputation in the industry? Do you guys, a lot of you guys spend time, sponsoring nonprofits or being involved in the community? Is that a big aspect for you guys? Or what are ways that you guys have found to be very productive? I'm curious myself, because I know that the canned answer and response is there's a lot of ways online to make sure, but there's always that unique aspect of something that's different than everyone else that you guys may do out there. So I'd love to learn from you guys too.
Yeah, and, a little bit of some of the stuff, we take this research and we look at it and we incorporate it into our products too. But some of the things that we're even doing is communicating to that potential customer. They're giving you their address and their home and everything, and we communicate to them, hey, just so you know, we're actually also servicing 40 of your neighbors or 40 or however many people that are in your neighborhood or in your city too. So there's little things that you can do that if you're already have built trust up with other consumers that are just like them, that's going to be a huge boost to how they perceive your reputation as a company.
Yeah, and I think the definition of that social proof, right? If enough people around me are doing it, I'm going to do it too. And I think you're going to do the same thing too. If you like something, you're going to tell your neighbors or talk about it. Or it's so interesting because I think a lot of people, when you talk to them on the phone, they're like, yeah, I'm just growing by word of mouth, but I don't talk about my pest control company or my HVAC company all the time unless it gets brought up. So my conversations with my neighbors, my family and friends only go so far. So I think that's why it's so important to focus on your online presence and be able to harness that and tell that social proofing story without having to, hey, go call your Uncle Jim and get his opinion. I think if you can get Uncle Jim's opinion online and share it with the world, it's going to be a lot better for you guys.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. We do have some more questions, but I first wanted to just direct everyone's attention to the chat where there's a link for a Field Routes demo, and also Ryan and Keith's email are there. So thank you for sharing those resources for anyone who would like to use them. Another question from the audience: have you analyzed the commercial segment, or do you plan to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we definitely have future plans to analyze the commercial segment. Yep. Our first go into this was on the residential side, and we're looking at even maybe doing a year-over-year revolving thing for the residential side just to see trends. Yeah. But it's definitely something that we want to dive into on the commercial side as well. So stay tuned for that.
Nice. And that was again Nicholas, who's kind of dominated the Q&A. Thanks for all the questions, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That. Yeah. Thank you, Nicholas.
Yeah. But I guess I don't. Oh, sorry, Jack.
Go ahead.
Keith, I don't know if it's putting you on the spot, but what are just some off the record trends that you've seen in the commercial segment that you would be confident or comfortable sharing here, since people are interested?
Yeah, we have customers that do a ton of commercial work, and what we've really found is commercial work, for better or worse, it's more of a custom quote. You want to talk about building a relationship with somebody, that's huge, that's paramount. So we find that commercial customers do the same interactions as residential, as far as doing that initial research through a digital channel, but they're not the best kind of target market that you're going to convert them and get them to buy online, right? Yeah. It's more of a conversational piece. Hey, come out to my property, check out. Yeah, boots on the ground. Check out what we got. Can you be discreet? If we have a bed bug problem or something like that, what other commercial provider or what other commercial properties have you serviced before? So
you're never going to see a Wendy's leave a review for
right. Yeah. Right, exactly. So, while digital, and you need to have some, if you do commercial, you need to have that presence on your website, and you need people to be able to research that. I think most importantly, it's, get them on the phone, get in front of them, show your experience, show what you've done in the past. And that's going to lead to that avenue. But it's definitely some very good questions that we could go out and do some consumer research around on, what is their buying journey? What is the biggest influential decision-making factor to choose a commercial pest control company? I think that would be a great study to have.
Yeah. I know we did do the polls. It could be valuable to kind of go over those poll answers and then dive a little bit more into those, because some of those insights were interesting for me, especially.
I don't know if we can pull up the poll answers again or not.
I don't know, Cody, is that possible?
Yes, it's can. We can.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
And which one was that? What you wanted up?
Just start with the first poll question answer, I guess, the breakdown of those answers, and then we can, there we go. Okay, cool. So how confident are you that most of your customer base will retain your services? And we have really a bell curve here with very confident, those who are very, very confident, and probably across the board, that's their answer for things, and confidence, and then somewhat confident, not confident. So, of you guys in these different breakdowns of confidence level, what would increase your confidence from, somewhat to confident, or from confident to very confident? What do you think is some of the differentials that you guys are missing out with today, or that you guys would like to have, but it's hard to scale, or anything that's barring you from making those changes? You guys could respond in the Q&A section, or we can just talk about it here, Keith and I.
Yeah, I think that customer satisfaction is pretty, it's a service-based business. So you're interacting with your customers, you feel like, again, there's only probably a certain few things or certain ways. There's not some, innovative technology to go out there and get rid of ants a certain different way that's going to separate you from your competition. So a lot of what you rely on for that, consumer satisfaction is your services, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that you're there on time, making sure that the appointment works for your customer, making sure that you have the technology tools, not only that helps you run your business more efficiently, but really speaks to that customer experience, right? Making sure that your customers are, know when you're going to be there, and know that, you want to make their home as pest-free as they want their home pest-free.
Mm-hmm. Another great thing that I see a lot of our members do is, like 90 days out or 6 months out, reaching back out to the client, offer them a special deal to come back around, like a lost lead campaign. Definitely something I recommend.
Absolutely. Are we getting close to time, Jackie, or do we have time to go?
We have a few more minutes.
Okay.
If we want to look at maybe one more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good one for you to hit, Ryan.
Yeah, right. Routinely manage and monitor review sites such as Google and Facebook. 75-25, right? So it's 3/4 of us. I think all of us would want to, and we should, right? We should respond back good and bad to our reviews, but sometimes it's hard to do that on a frequent basis. But, from what we've seen, it's really important to spend the time with those clients and get those responses.
Yeah, and even having a tool where you can respond to those reviews in a timely manner versus having to log in to your GMB every time or every day. Having a tool, that's there that shows you your Google reviews, you can respond instantly to them.
Yes.
And even listen to your phone calls, like you mentioned earlier, and focus in on those close rates,
And
those are.
Go ahead.
I would say that's all just kind of a part of that technology side that, we say that, it definitely helps you in your business. But again, I've said it before, it's that customer experience. If you're responding to their reviews, good or bad, that again builds reliability and trust. If I go and I see a small business that responds to a bad review or takes care of that customer, and that's going to be a super plus for me. That's going to make me think they're reputable. And on the business side, you want to make sure your close rates are good on your phone calls. So having that ability to listen into them, see what's working and not working, what business you're losing and winning, those are huge, and it really just improves that customer experience for them as well.
Yeah. And the 7 of us who responded, no, we don't routinely manage, again, first off, thanks for your honesty. Secondly, was there a solution out there you guys have looked at in helping with that and increasing your reviews, because that's that social proofing? If you guys want to chat, or even those who do routinely do it, I guess the question is that the best use of your time? Of course, right? The answer might be but there could be other elements like training or helping open up new markets that you guys could do, and you could offshore that to the field routes or to others out there. We definitely love to talk to you guys a little bit more.
All right, well, I think that is all the time that we have today. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon, and thank you to Keith and Ryan and Field Routes for all of this information.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for the questions. Really appreciate it.